Hello everybody and welcome back to the 5-Star Potential Podcast Social. Hope you guys are keeping well and safe. We're here for yet again another daily podcast, and as you can see alongside me today, two of our main 5-Star Pod hosts. We've got Curty. Curty, how's it going, man?
Alright, it feels weird calling myself a 5-Star Pod host.
I think we all are really, all co-hosts. But, yeah.
Just there in the background. Yeah. just the eye candy more than anything.
Hey, that's my job.
Yeah. And we have got Herb as well. Herb, how's it going, man?
Or is it Ewan McGregor?
Exactly. Who even knows? Hello there.
Hello.
I've got a new series coming out on Disney Plus.
Herb actually thinks he looks like Ewan McGregor.
I just don't think I don't look not like. Out of all of us, the most.
Right, I don't know. I know the name, but let me search him. Ewan McGregor. I'm probably.
Hold on, you don't know who Ewan McGregor is?
I don't know what he looks like.
Specifically, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor. Though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There.
Is that who you base your look on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, not
Hello there.
Hello there.
It's
more
just a guy
so
with,
now than I did before.
It's just a guy with medium length hair and a beard, and I don't think it does look like it.
Have you got enough room to like just pop up from the so that we can like do a side by side?
Not now, but later, yes.
Can we get that so that we can put that on Twitter? I reckon that'll bang Herb.
Yeah, he doesn't look like it. I don't think.
No.
More than the lookalikes that Dupe sends me.
I mean, Dupe. Yeah, Dupe just. I don't think Dupe's got an eye for anything, to be fair. So yeah. Obviously, Curty, you've been on the podcast before. Herb, you haven't been on yet. So we'll talk more in depth to the both of you, because obviously Curty was sort of like a host for. Which one were you on, Curty? Oh, with Mad, was it?
I was on with Patrick.
That was it. Patrick, Paul, Mad. I can't.
He loves it. Whenever he comes in my stream now, I'm like, all right, it's Patrick. He's like, fucking Patrick.
Who the fuck's Patrick? But yeah, Herb, obviously lockdown for you. You were one of those mad people that moved house during lockdown as well, weren't you?
Oh yeah, what haven't I had done in lockdown? I moved at the back end of lockdown. First lockdown was just weird, wasn't it? Because we didn't know how long it was going to go on for. So I was in central London on my own for from March till August. Yeah. I think I saw somebody that I knew for the first time after about 5 months of just literally living in a pod. So it was pretty much like a prison. So that's pretty good.
Amazingly, though, you've made your backdrop look exactly the same as it did in your old place.
Yeah, that was kind of like... It wasn't supposed to. And then when I rearranged the desk, I was like, I'll just put everything where it went before.
Just added a door there, isn't it? That's all.
No creativity.
There was no door. There even was a door, but it was a cupboard last time. That's outside. No creativity. Just did the same thing.
Base your look on someone else. You base your backdrop on your old room.
Hey! Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. But yeah. No.
You're flattering yourself.
Yes. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. But yeah, no, the first lockdown was weird. I broke my knee as well. That happened.
Oh yeah, I remember that. How do you do that again? Was on the bike?
Lockdown.
What was that, on a bike or something?
Yeah, I tried to do exercise. So we were locked down for like 4 or 5 weeks, and I just didn't leave the house because I didn't need to leave the house because delivery exists. And then I was like, I need to get some exercise done. I was going to get really, really fat and unhealthy, and I went for a bike ride and snapped my kneecap. Which still, we don't know how this happened. So yeah, so then I was on my own in central London in a cast. So then I didn't actually physically move for another 8 weeks because I couldn't really walk. So yeah, it was pretty wild ride.
What was? Were you still working in the office, or were you working from home?
No, working from home. So I was going into the office once a week, but I was the only one going in because I was the closest. So I was going in essentially just to check that nothing had blown up, which was pointless. But it was exercise. So I was cycling in, so I wasn't getting the train. So it was nice. I was cycling and cycling.
Oh, isn't that when you did your knee though to work?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. I remember because I did think that. And yeah.
So then I was like, bollocks. So yeah, I had to stay put for 8 weeks, and then that just continued on for many months more into end of lockdown. Because even when it finished, London's a weird place anyway, because you live in little pods, you live in tiny little houses, usually actually quite far away from people, and you meet up because all my friends, all my social group, live within like a square mile radius. But when no one's going to work, you realise if you want to meet someone for a drink, it's like, well, do you want to bike 30 minutes to me, and then I'll bike 20 minutes across, and we'll meet at this place? And it's like, when we get drunk, how are we going to get home? It's like, oh yeah, fuck. How are we doing? So the summer wasn't too bad, because you could get out and kind of be like, we'll just go to the park or we'll meet up here. But then as it got later in and it got colder, people were just like, nah, let's just stay at home.
So do you think if lockdown hadn't have happened, you'd still be in London?
Yeah. I don't think it'll go, because it was there for the social stuff. There's just no social being there anymore. So I don't think
Yeah.
I was thinking about moving back. It's been something that's been on my mind for much longer than lockdown. And then I think hindsight, beautiful thing. If I'd known it had been this long, I probably would have moved in March.
So that is like the straw that broke the camel's back, basically.
Yeah, it was literally like that I'm never going to find a good time to do it because I still work there. So I'm still going to have to, when it all opens up again, I'm going to have to get the train in, and that's going to be annoying. But I was like, there's never going to be a perfect time just to make the jump than now, where I get to move and work from home then to acclimatise for a couple of months.
So you moved from London back, to Milton Keynes.
Back to Milton Keynes, yeah.
Is that where you're from originally? Is that where you're from
originally?
Yeah.
So all my family here. I'm like the black sheep. So I decided to move out. But again, all of my family live. I could bike to my mum, my nans, my other nans, all my aunts and uncles. I could get there in about 20 minutes on a bicycle.
Yeah.
So I'm now like right back in the core. So that was for me, it was just like, it's an obvious decision. And it's not too far. Milton Keynes to London is 20 minutes, 30 minutes on the train. So it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I looked at loads of options, and then, yeah, that was the one. And when I realised I just wasn't seeing other human beings, and you're just like, fuck, I can't do. But essentially, streaming was great because I just streamed every single day as social interaction. But other than that, you go to I'm making friends with the freaking guy when the cafe around the corner opened up, I'd just go there for lunch to be like, hey, it's people. Hey, what's going on? Go in every day. They're like, English breakfast? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's part of the problem.
Your coffee's there waiting ready. And
yeah, exactly. She's like, every time you come in, you order the same thing. I'm like, yeah. Because
that's what I do as well. I think if there's a restaurant, I always order the same thing as well.
Yeah. When I moved, I had to go and be like, I'm moving, guys, so you won't see me. And they didn't give a shit. Like,
There's quite a few delivery riders now that come to my house an embarrassing amount of times.
It's like, didn't you have this? Yeah, shut up. I had it for lunch and dinner. Shut up.
Don't judge me.
But yeah, it was wild. But yeah, that was I think essentially it. It was like I've been thinking about it for a while and been like, I'm going to work there. Should I come back? Should I not? And a few of my friends had already moved back. So I have like a social group in Milton Keynes as well. And yeah, so made the jump, decided to move, and then literally rushed to get it all done. And I think I've been here 3 weeks now.
Was it stressful to move everything though? Did you have loads that had to come with you? How did you have to do it?
Just did it in one. I was lucky. So my dad came down with a van, and we just did it all in one afternoon and moved. But again, I lived in a box. So essentially, the size of this room doubled was probably the size of my entire apartment before.
Wow.
And you don't. Everything's furnished. So I didn't own. That was also depressing. So all I owned was essentially what is on stream.
Oh, got you. Yeah. So you had to leave everything else.
The desk, everything else, the sofas, the actual bed units and stuff, all were supplied. So I was in London for, I think it's nearly 9 years from like moving down to moving back, and I own a desk and some computer monitors. That's it. I don't own it.
You stay in the same place the whole time in London?
No, I moved round.
Oh, right.
But every time you move, you then realise it's a freaking ball ache, so you throw stuff away. So I used to like have loads of books and DVDs, and you have collections of stuff, and you slowly just go, that's not really worth it. I'll sell that. That's not worth moving. I'll sell that. So yeah, I ended up moving back with one like transit van, not even full of stuff, from 8 years, and I was just like, fuck. It's about the experiences, man. It's about the experiences. So yeah, my dad got banned. He's like, is this yours? I was like, no. He's like, this yours? I was like, no. It's literally 10 boxes, half of which I'd written junk on. He's like, why are you moving these? I was like, I just want to move something.
Yeah.
Like my trophies, my football trophies.
The charity cup. You got a trophy for that as well, huh? Charity. Yeah.
It's just,
He's still got it. He's still got it.
Yeah.
It's the hand.
I need it.
What other trophies you got?
Do you know what the funny one is? So someone commented on it. I've got the biggest one, which looks the most impressive. This is one.
That's for like a man of the match or something.
No, it's from a FIFA tournament where I came second. But it doesn't say second.
What?
So I keep it, yeah.
FIFA?
Hold on. Is this a FIFA tournament between like you and two other friends? Because I've seen you play FIFA.
Yeah, so this is the problem. My friends used to do such good like LAN parties. So we'd invite like between 12 and 15, 16 people around, and we do either World Cup or we do just a FIFA tournament. Pull a name out of the hat on a day. That's your team you get, and then you just go through a knockout. So all in this house, and we'd have 2 Xboxes set up in different rooms, and you just pass between and drink. And in that group, I was quite good. I think I won once, and I came second a few times. I was always in like the semis, and then I started playing on the internet. And
you realise how good everyone else is.
Yeah, everyone else is really, really good.
It's a real baptism of fire, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I used to be really good, like amongst my mates, and then you start playing online. It's like,
yeah.
Okay. Other people are good too.
Yeah.
And the worst is when you get beating people when they like obviously the end part of their name is their birth year.
Yeah.
Getting beaten by 2012, and you're like, what, how old are you? 8? Oh no!
Or you beat someone like that, and they send you a message like saying "fuck your mum" or something afterwards.
That's my favourite though. I don't mind that. It's when I'm shouting and swearing, and I realise I'm.
Remember that guy that sent me that voice message earlier this year?
Yeah, exactly.
I think I was beating him 3-0 after half an hour. Then he quit, and then he goes, "No way did you deserve those 3 goals. Okay, maybe they're just the second one, but no way, you are the luckiest." And then he told me, "I hope my mum gets raped," or whatever at the end. I was like, "What is going on here?"
Oh my god!
Finished it really
proper weird, like.
yeah.
But like you say, I've been playing FIFA for years, and I ain't dreadful at it. But like, I don't like this year, especially. I've bought the game, played it quite a lot for the first week. Then you wind down, we get ready for FM. And I've not touched it. But like, I have a game, and then I'm like, nah, I can't be arsed. But my brother's doing like the all competitive weekend league and whatever, and I go upstairs. All right, give me the second half. It was 1-1 just, and I lost the game 3-1. And like for him, obviously he's got to get a good record. And to be fair, he's not too bad. If I lose, he doesn't get angry at me. But I bet I walk out the room, he's like, "You fucking dickhead, what are you doing?" Yeah. But I've lost my touch, man. But like you say, like you just lost a game to someone with 0-4 on the bottom of the game. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, work it out.
Well, it's probably older than that. You could probably get someone with like 08 now,
yeah.
like a 12-year-old beat. Yeah, it's like
Yep.
yeah.
Just trick sticking the fuck out. Fucking just throw the ball.
That's weird with your birth. So like the team I coach, I was like, yeah, can you hand in your registration form? We'll give them to the league. Look at their date of birth, 03. You're like, no, 2013. You're like,
Yeah.
what? Is that even a date of birth? Like,
So you think it's bad, Dave? Then imagine how bad it gets when you go further back.
yeah.
You're the young one. We're fucked.
It still blows my mind that you weren't alive for Euro '96. Like it absolutely blows my mind.
That is a bit weird as well. Yeah.
Just have to watch it back.
Yeah. So you still working at the same place as before? So you can still, like you say, from Milton Keynes, it's so easy still to get into London. I think a load of people do that though, don't they?
Yeah. Normally people do. It's just a commute time. You just lose your commute time, which is something that obviously I'll have to think about going when we do go back. Well, how we go back is no one knows. But when I do, obviously that cuts into then content time and what I do with that. But I don't think it's going to be the same. I think for everybody, I don't think it's going to be the same. I was really lucky that I have worked all the way through, and I think Kurt, you said before, even probably busier during lockdown than outside because you don't break, you just carry on working. So you just here, and because I spent all my time at this freaking desk anyway, I just carry on working through. So yeah, it's been a strange. I'm lucky, I suppose, that been working through, not have to worry about furlough or redundancy or anything. That was a really weird after like the first couple of months. Like a really weird mental space to be like, I'm really grateful that I'm working. I'm really fucked off that I'm having to work so hard though. And it's like, then you feel like I can't really vent like you would normally and go down the pub and be like, fuck man, it's really busy, blah, 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 and you get it all out. When you kind of a bit like, if I moan, I'm like, fucking hell, I had to do all these extra hours, and someone's like, yeah, cool, I lost my job today, and you're like, shit, like perspective, but at the same time, it's good for me mentally to have a moan to get it out. So there was a bit of a weird stage.
You're like me that you weren't in your current job for that long before it all kicked off, were you? So how have you found that like affect your sort of team dynamic at work and stuff? Are you still getting on with people okay at work, or does it feel a little bit more detached?
It is a little bit more. It's been work. I was in what was it, end of November, so I had a few months at least.
Oh, okay.
But it was a bit of a roller coaster because it was like trying to get up to speed with stuff, and then it was like, cool, now we need to change with that because we've got to work from home. It's like, oh crap, how's that work? But we've had a few new people start, and I just feel bad for them because they've all they know is what they see of people, and especially if you started. We had a few people that started 2 or 3 like end of May-ish time, when people had already got bored of Zooms and turning their cameras on. So all you know is people's voice. So there's sometimes you have to be like, right, everyone turn your freaking cameras on so we can actually talk to each other so you can see, because this person's never seen your face. So they need to get an idea. And I was talking to one of them before, and they were like, do you know what the really weird thing is? They were like, I don't know how tall anybody is. And I was like, what? And they were like, I don't know how tall anybody is. Like, I see you on a screen, but everyone sat down. So it's like, when we go to the office, I'm trying to guess whether someone's like, where they're all going to be. And I was like, what a strange thing to think about. But it completely true.
That is true,
so,
isn't it?
Yeah.
I had a weird one at work. So like every 3 months or so, we have like a like a review of like your annual goals and all that kind of shit, objectives and stuff. And one of the things I got praised about was that I always turn my cameras on in meetings because everyone's just like fed up with it, and they're like, "Oh, really? It's really good for your visibility within the company and stuff like that." I was like, "Yes."
Is that the camera you use? Is that the one you use as well?
Yeah,
so you've got a nice setup as well. Yeah.
I see if you've got a nice.
Yeah, well, one of the departments. So like we create content as well. So we create like learning content around some of our tools and just kind of industry stuff. And I've had to do loads of voiceover work because they're like, you're the only one with like a decent microphone.
Yeah.
So literally, I've just been like, that's been a big part of my job is doing voiceover work. So it's quite good. I'm building up my back catalogue.
Yeah.
And then,
ready to rival
and then I
Nerd.
can, yeah, exactly. I'll come for Nerd. I'm sure he is here.
Yeah. Get Matt Jansen's book. Get Two Guys' book before he does.
Yeah.
Lose your shit.
Two Guys' book. Yeah.
But it is a random one because the people that we had, there's a big piece at work. Our office was predominantly. It's only 20 people, like the whole company, and the office was predominantly probably like 40 plus. And over the last year, we've brought in a whole swathe of like 24, 25-year-olds, as those guys, the ones on the top end, were retiring. And it was just like, you need to get some new ideas in the business. You actually need to bring some younger people in. Plus, they're cheaper. Like, it just works out. But then that completely shifts the dynamic. So when they're like, oh, we should put the cameras on. And some people are like, I am working in my bedroom because I don't have the luxury of having a second room and a desk. It's like, if I go and work in the kitchen, my mum's in the kitchen. I live in like my house with my siblings. So it's like, the reality is people's circumstances are all over the place. So when you're like, oh, it'd be really nice if you turn the camera on. It's like, yeah, but what if they're actually embarrassed by their working situation because they're looking at the people that do turn their cameras on because they're sat in a fancy fucking office versus you sat on your end of your bed and you're like, oh. So we had to do a big bit of that to be like, you actually have to tell us where you're working because we might need to send you desks and chairs because we hadn't thought about it. And it's like, where are you working? It's like, oh, I'm just working like kind of off the edge of my bed. It's like, no, shit. We're going to send you some fold-out desks and some chairs. So we were like Ubering freaking office chairs to people to try and make sure that they weren't, because they're sat there all day, weren't sat kind of mucking, not getting sort of not being comfortable, not then being productive because they're trying to work off the edge of something.
Have you ever had it where like you're speaking to someone and you're thinking like you're talking work, but you're like, oh, man, she sounds fit, she does, and then she turns the camera on and she's like 60 or something. Or you talk to someone and then she turns the camera on and you're like, oh, there she is.
Oh.
Have you had that?
My immediate mood is shaped. I don't get to speak to too many people outside my business. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But I don't really get that. I normally get it the opposite way around though. Because I like work in finance. So when I turn, especially before like I got a haircut, when I went just full, I'm not cutting my hair or beard for months. So I missed a haircut from about Jan and then went into lockdown. And then the first haircut I got was like July. So beginning of July, people are like, can you just not turn your cameras on in meetings? Because they'll be talking to me. They have a perception. I turn it on. I'm like, hello. Yeah. My hair's like really long. Yeah. Beard's massive. And they're like, oh, this guy's the finance guy. Like,
I turn my camera on so that people's expectations aren't too high from the off. So, you know, just
get it in early.
Keep it real early doors, you know.
I like the surprise factor, though. Or the disappointment. Someone's like, oh, it's like, because they can't hide their face. If their camera's
like
already on.
Date.
Yeah. Like, you turn your camera on first. I want to see your reaction when I push this button. It's like, hello.
I do that with the talking wall stuff. Like, if someone's like, can we do a match preview with you? Like, some of them, I'll just record like 2 minutes of myself, send it to them, and like, you'd never see the person. But a lot of them are using this thing called Streamable now. So literally, they set it up like sort of similar to this. They'll put the two cams in there, and basically you click this link, and it's like a studio, and they drag you into the studio. So like you'll start stream like the other day on Friday, you can stream it directly to YouTube, and comments come up, and you click the comment, and it will show up on the stream and stuff. It's quite clever, to be fair.
Nice, it's quite good. Yeah.
So I was a bit late to one the other day, and I joined it, but obviously he has to drag me in, so people don't know I'm there waiting, and he was there like, I'm waiting for this Talking Walls guy. I don't know where he is. Like, because I was at work, I emailed him, said I'll be 10 minutes, and he was starting his stream at 1. So 10 past 1, I joined. He's like, I'm going to have to take his name out of the title. Like, I'm really not happy. And I'm sat there in the studio waiting for him. And they're like, but that was the same thing. Like, I don't know what any of these people look like, and I'm about to do a live stream of these people. They click live, and their face pops up. I'm like, fucking hell. Like, So I don't know what to expect. But, it's I think it is good for businesses and stuff. Like again with when I did that Squawker thing, I had to do a meeting, and he goes, you don't have to turn your camera on if you don't want to, but if it's going to be a bit awkward if you're having an hour conversation, you got your camera on and I haven't, so I just turned it on as well. So I think that's good for business as well. I just think I think a lot more where you have to find you are having to do it because you're not getting any social interaction from work. It's the one thing that's missing is that everyone can do their work and you ring people to have work conversations, but that's where it stops. And because there's no face to face, you don't ramble off normally. You just like get in, talk about work, and then I want to get off this call as well as you. But I think I'm definitely trying to like turn on the camera more, or just like add on a chat with people, just to be like, yeah, how you getting on? Like, what is it like? Just any crap I can think of, just to be like, hello, let's have a human interaction, please. This would be nice. I think
there are definitely things like you miss out. Like there's in my team, like we get on quite well, given the fact we only worked together for about 4 weeks before lockdown happened. Like we get on quite well, and there's like this other guy who's kind of part of our team but not kind of part of our team, who's a bit of a dick. And the girl I work with is like, I've got some amazing stories about him, and I'm like, what are they? She's like, well, we'll have to do it over a beer. I'm like, I've been waiting for like a year to hear these stories now. It's doing my head in.
It's the beer. It's such a big part of. We were saying when you're left, especially like in the work that I do, there's a lot of bits to be improved and a lot of stuff that has to be worked on, and so much of the release for us was just like, let's just go for a bit on our Friday, but like let's just go for a sneaky lunchtime beer, play some pool, and you have your little chats then, and you get all your like bitching and stuff done in those moments as well. And then when you haven't that like that's gone, you're just left with work. And then I'm like, fuck, just the work bit is shit. I like the bit where you get to talk to people and talk about some other stuff, and you have the coffee time, you have little sneaky breaks. And when you're just working on just work, it's like, this is draining.
It kills any awkwardness and stuff as well, doesn't it? Like, especially with the thing, like if you've never spoke to anybody, like if like you say, if you turn on the cams for the first time as well, like you just know, like you know straight away. I don't know what it is with that, like, but I think if you've worked, say for example, say you had a business with somebody and for a year you didn't even know what they looked like, I think that'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it?
That would be weird.
But like you say, I think with cameras on, I think like you say, your business can get done better and quicker. Like you say at work, sometimes you're on the phone, you got to crank on the phone, and like I do it with my mum as well at work. Like my mum sat down and they're like you know, who the fuck's this? Like you can't do that on a camera, can you?
I know, a lot of camera going.
Yeah. I'm at work and the customer's in front of me. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, what now, mate? Like, But yeah, I think like you're right. You can get things sorted a lot better face to face or with a camera as well. What's the situation? Obviously, Kurt, you're sort of similar situation to her, like working from home. How have you found that as well? Do you think you get stuff done quicker, or are you one of those that struggles to work from home? Do you get easily distracted?
I do get easily distracted, but I like there are definitely days where like I work much longer hours than I would have done in the office.
Yeah.
But there are also days where motivation is tough. But what was cool actually, I was chatting to a couple of members of my team and stuff, and just sort of just said like, how are you guys getting on, like motivation wise, stuff like that, and I just learned that everyone is basically having the same issues, you know. So there's going to be days where maybe I don't get as much done as I should, but I've kind of learning not to beat myself up for that, if you know what I mean. So. It's a learning curve. At first, like the novelty of working from home is great. Then you kind of have the lull, and now I kind of feel like I'm in a period where like I've adjusted to it now. I'm getting what I need to get done, but I'm still managing to like take the dog out for a walk and you know, kind of find time for myself during the day, like take 20 minutes here and there just to like have a coffee and chill out and have a chat with the missus and stuff, like, you know, work out in our calendars where there are gaps in our days. And so, yeah, I think certainly the adjustment for me is, you know, it's kind of there now. I'm in a nice place with it.
Yeah. It's going to be funny when people are back at sort of, I'd say, normal work or back in offices, because it's going to be like almost the same thing over again, isn't it? Like trying to get used to it. And
I'm kind of hoping so. Like both my boss and his peer are both very. I don't see why we would ever go back to the office 5 days a week, and the fact that they're both of that opinion makes me think that
I think there'll be a lot of
That-
businesses though. I think people look at it and think, right, we've worked so well outside of the office anyway, and we're paying this much for an office. Like, why don't we just start working from home a little bit more? So I think you're right there. So like, either people will start buying restricted office spaces. So like you say, you don't have to go in. Like you rotate your office hours, or some will probably get rid of that whole office element. You might have a meeting room maybe somewhere close by to everyone that you'll have to meet up maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks. But I think there'll be a lot of businesses in a lot of sectors that will start doing that sort of thing. But that'll be an interesting one as well. Obviously, Curty, you spoke to us on the, like we said earlier, on the one with Mad. How's your situation been with lockdown since then? Like you say, with work and stuff like that, have you been able to sort of focus on that? Where's your headspace been since then?
Largely positive.
Good.
I think.
Good.
Like it was good to have a chat with you guys, and like you know, I sort of said to you at the time, like so many people kind of just reached out and said, you know, how you doing? DMs are open and all this kind of stuff, and it was actually it was nice. So you know, sort of since then, you know, kind of me and the missus have set ourselves like little weekly goals of stuff, bits and pieces, and you know, like a little bit of mental health stuff, a little bit of just general exercise stuff, and you know, we haven't done it every day, but I'm not looking upon that as a failure. I'm very much looking upon that as this is stuff that I probably wouldn't have done if I hadn't written it down beforehand. So you know, say you write down 7 tasks of the week and you get 2 done, or 3 done, or whatever. You know,
3 more than what you were going to do.
Still 3
more
exactly.
than you,
So just focusing on little things like that, and like I say, like I've started streaming again a little bit, which was weird actually because I sort of announced that I was going to stream the weekend before, and it got to that weekend I just didn't feel like it at all. Following weekend, I just went, do you know what? I've not even tested my OBS. I've not tested anything. I'm just going to fucking hit go live and see what happens, and I did, and it was great, and it was good fun, and I've streamed like 2 or 3 times this week, not massive amounts, but like it's nice to be sort of back in the fold and chatting to people and stuff. So yeah, it was. You know, and I guess the point of this whole thing really is to, you know, if it resonates with people is cool. So like, for me, certainly it helped talk, you know, opening up a little bit and talking to people, and you know, if it helped me, it can help someone else. You know, so like I say, it's still very much like one day at a time, if you like, but a lot more positive than I was a couple of weeks ago. Put it that way.
That's good, man. It's good that you sort of dipped your toe back into the streaming as well. I think that's what I think a lot of us
want.
Yeah,
It's what the people want.
yeah, that's what I'm glad though as well. Did you get like I don't know, like obviously with the people in the chat, like you still picked up. I know it's not about numbers, but you still picked up a good amount of people, even though you know you had such a good, quite big break, really.
Yeah, the support was great.
Yeah.
And you know, just people, even if they just stopped in to say hi and stuff like that, and like it was all good. Like, I didn't announce anything, so it was just like I say, it was very, very impromptu. I do get a lot of people just asking me when the next network save's going to start, though.
I get that all the fucking time. I've been streaming non-stop. This is all right, Herb, but when are you and Kate going to do something again? No, but I'm streaming now. Yeah, no, I know you are, but, you know, Kate? I'm like, oh, fucking hell.
Yeah. So there's that. So, yeah, we should chat. But, yeah, no, it was great. Like I say, like that first stream back was really cool. Lots of people jumped in just to say hi, even if they were only there for a couple of minutes. I really appreciated that. And yeah, it's just nice to kind of to catch up with a lot of names. I mean, faces. Obviously, a lot of these people I've never seen their faces, but a lot of names that are recognised from from previous streams or from Twitter or whatever. And yeah, it was cool. So hopefully that will continue.
I had someone. What was it? He said he came on my stream the other day. He goes, "Oh hi, do you remember me?" And it was like a username I don't think I'd ever seen before. I was like, "What?" I said, "I'll be honest, mate. I don't have a clue who you are." And he clicked follow age, right? And he'd been following me for like 6 years or whatever. I was like, oh no, maybe like no 4 years or something, which is still a long time because I haven't really been. I said, why were you following me during FM16 where I'm fairly certain I never streamed anything? And he goes, oh, I don't have a clue. I'd never seen this name before, but he goes, do you remember me? I was like, nope. What was the
I thought it was going to be a good end to that story.
I'm sorry. I thought you lot were going to be like,
my mum.
oh, that's cool. Yeah, nah, there was no ending. I'm sorry. That's one of my rubbish stories again. What was the feeling, Curty, like when you clicked end stream? Was it like a huge sigh of relief? You know, you managed to sort of do that stream. You had loads of people in there, or was it just one of those where at the end, because it wasn't a long stream, was it? Well, it was still about 2 hours worth. But yeah,
it was like 2.5 hours or so. But yeah, no, I clicked it. I remember going downstairs. I clicked end stream, went downstairs, went to sort of make myself a coffee or something. Mrs. just goes, "How's it going?" I was just like, "Yeah, it's fucking great. It's really, really good." And I think I tweeted out just to say thank you afterwards, because it did. It meant, it meant a lot. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest. I thought you'd probably get a few people in saying hi, but yeah, just the amount of people that came by. Just to throw the support, or again, just sort of reiterate something that they've DM'd me, or anything like that. It was cool.
That's
it was
good,
really,
man.
really cool.
I'm glad. And Herb, obviously you moved back to MK now. What was your situation? Obviously you mentioned you've seen one or two of your friends maybe throughout lockdown. Mm-hmm. What's the situation been now? Do you think you'll be able to? Have you still got, like you said, a lot of your friends were in London, but you still got a lot of friends in MK, or some of them moved back there as well?
Yeah, some of them moved back. So yeah, I got like a split friendship group. I've got like old friends as well that I met 1 or 2 times a year.
Yeah.
That live and have never moved from MK. So it's about getting in touch with them. But I've always been quite conscious to make sure I have a group. So I think I spoke about a few times before that we have like what we call the Meat and Booze group, which is something I stole from another friend, which was he was Australian and moved over to London, and he said it's just this thing that's blossomed, that essentially Australians that come over, if they have any link to anyone, get invited to this group, which was once a month for them all just to meet up, have some drinks, go and get some food, just chat, because they are new into the country, to try and give them links to people that kind of are in the same situation, build a friendship group, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, fuck, I should just do it with my friends who I don't freaking see anytime. So we have a monthly one that we put in, which has obviously been like weirdly on hiatus for a while. We did a couple of Zoom ones, but it doesn't really work because it's hard to, essentially when you meet up and you drink and you shit each other.
With a leg of lamb.
Yeah. It's not the same. We're talking about how we get one now for Christmas outside, so we're going into the detail of it. But so yeah, I had quite a strong group, which was those guys. A few of them had moved back already, but a lot of them were starting to move out of central London anyway. So we were all becoming a little bit disparate. So it was always after work was brilliant because we were all there. So yeah, there's a few guys that I met with, but since I've been back, I can't remember who I was saying to. I was saying it to someone. Like I feel in a much better place over the last 3 weeks than I did before. And I knew I wasn't. And I think I wouldn't say I've ever like probably suffered from mental health issues, but I notice when stuff's happening. And I usually then, so the reason I've been thinking about it for such a long time is because I knew that I was living in a box on my own. And it's been the first time actually I've been single. Fucking what time to be single. First time I've been single for this period of time, for a very long time as well. So I was like, I'm going to take some time on myself. And then like 6 months of taking time with myself was then, now you have to be on your own. You're going to be in a bubble and you're going to have to deal with some shit now. So I was like, fuck.
I remember chatting to you, and like I remember being like not worried about you as such, but like, you
said I'm worried about you. I was like, I'm all right. What's the matter?
Oh, maybe I did say that, but I just, you were streaming every night and stuff, which was great, I think, because it just keeps that interaction going. It keeps you chatting and stuff like that. But I like, obviously, when you hurt your knee, that was rough. But then afterwards, you were like, right, I've got to start getting out for like a little bit a day and just going out at lunchtime or something like that, going for a walk and stuff like that. And yeah, I remember having a sort of conversation with you. Just like being worried about you a little bit, but because like obviously I live with my missus and I've got my dog and stuff like that, and it's cool. But like being on your own, it's a whole different dynamic.
Yeah.
So no, I don't blame you at all for moving back and sort of getting yourself out of that situation, if you like.
Yeah, you got a bit more support around you now as well, I'd assume, like, immediate support.
Well, there's people there, and like already, it's a weird one as well. Then getting back to like, it sounds like I've been a freaking like hermit, but getting back to people just being like, "Oh, cool, like what you doing? Do you want to do?" And it's like, nah, fuck off, mate. Like when I wake up on a Saturday morning, I play Football Manager until I'm ready to get going, and it's like, oh, maybe I should go and see people. So even like today, I was like popping around to see people. Because I'm a solo as well, I'm at like a free bubble, baby, so I get to bubble with whoever I need to. But yeah, so just going to see people, going out for a walk, and it's just like, oh yeah, I need to get into do that, and it was right. Work's always the one that kicks me out of habits, because if it's stuff to do, I'll be like, oh, I won't do it. But I did for a good over the summer, for probably a month and a half, 2 month period. Every like lunchtime, went and did a walk, and that was part of like my knee rehab, because I then started to get worried that if I didn't go and walk on it, I might lose the use of my knee fully. Yeah. And then it's like, fuck, imagine I just was so lazy to go walking that I then don't have a knee. And it's like, oh man, I'm like early 30s, this is bullshit. I took some, I have to have a word with myself sometimes.
Was this like the first sort of, I know there's a lot of people that have been in your situation where, did you live with your ex like full time as well, or was that?
Not for a while. So I've been in the house, but before I had lived with ex. But yeah, but I've been living on my own essentially with then
just like
random amounts of women coming in and out for a while. So I'm used to being on my own anyway.
Yeah.
But then it's intersected with work, so you go and see people. So
mainly you're McGregor fans.
Yeah. I'm you, McGregor.
I just go out to Piccadilly Circus.
Yeah.
Go out in my full with my lightsaber.
Jedi suit. Yeah.
Come with me.
But like obviously this year's been tough for a load of people.
You will have sex with me.
No! Let's not make this rapey now. And that was the end of that.
Sorry.
I was going to say, before, obviously this year's been tough for a lot of people, especially living on their own. Has this been the toughest year for you, do you think, mentally? Or like, have you had those difficulties before?
No, I think this has been the shittest year ever. Yeah, so I think even moving... So when I moved job, I moved into essentially out of my comfort zone, which was November last year. So then I had 6 months of just proper ball ache work. Then this kicked in, and it was like, okay, this is not too bad. Working from home is quite good. And then the knee, and I was like, okay, that's just another mental struggle. And then it carried on for a bit longer, and I was like, oh, no, okay, I need to move back. So trying to balance that off. And then moving back, I think I moved back, and then 3 days later, we went into lockdown. So I think in my head as well, I'd like mentally released something to be like, I'm back now, so therefore I can start living. And then it was like, you got 3 days and you're back in lockdown again. I was like, so then that went on. And then even worse than that, my granddad didn't have COVID, but caught COVID in the end and passed away like a couple of weeks ago. So it was just like, fucking hell, man. How many times do you want to kick me in the nuts on this year? Which... I think one of the reasons I stayed away from this pod for a couple of weeks was just like, let me get
calm
through
down a bit,
process that.
Yeah.
Before I come on, I'm like, my granddad fucking died. It's just like, fuck. But yeah, and that's one of the reasons for moving back as well, was to be closer to family, and then you get something like that hit, and a few of my family members had then isolated because they caught it, and it was just like, this is not something you want to be dealing with. And I think almost, I'm not blasé with the rules, and I talk about being a solo bubble, but if I want to go and see my mum and dad, I'm going to go and see my mum and dad. Like, I did 8 months of complete solo, and it didn't immune me from the feelings of other people getting it. So it's just like, for fuck's sake, if I trust that they are safe and they're following the rules, then I will go and see them. And same with my nan. So obviously trying to be as safe as possible, but I am one of the safest because I don't leave the house. Like even now, I'm pretty much living as I lived in London. Like if I need food, I go and get my food shopping. That's it. And actually now I just go and click and collect because I drive to a port. I put my own shopping in my
click and collect.
Put my own shopping in my car and drive off. And Milton Keynes is drive everywhere as opposed to London, which is getting on transport.
Roundabout everywhere as well, Milton Keynes, isn't it?
They work. They work. So yeah, it's pretty safe. So actually, it's kind of like I'm taking more of a common sense approach now because I do need to see people and we do need support. So yeah, it's been the shittest year I think I've ever had.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Joe said the story a couple of times on the podcast. The fact that just under a year ago since I think his granddad passed away, and there was a chance for Joe to go and see him, and Joe had the flu, so didn't want to see him, and his granddad passed away, and he missed that he missed that opportunity really. So I think you are right. I think that there's a lot of people been in the situation. The only thing I've lost this lockdown is a dog, like my little dog, but obviously that's not COVID related. But my girlfriend lost her nan as well. Again, I don't think it was COVID related, but it's the funeral and stuff like that. There's complications with that. You can't just have a standard funeral and a standard wake where you can invite all the family and friends. Like, you've got to be careful on numbers of that as well. So that was. Did you have any issues with that as well, like the funeral sort of thing?
We should have had more. I think, because there was like multiple members of the family that had recently, but we pushed it back because some people had recently tested positive. So we all had to go out and get tested to make sure that none of us were impacted. So it was bubble. It's the wake piece. And I don't know how many people have been to funerals. Some people have been way more than others. Yeah. But the wake bit's the nice bit for me. I like to. I'm a very short griever, so I will like hold it all back. Especially when I was in London, I did it before, where I just didn't acknowledge it, and it was like coming home was when I acknowledge it, and then it's just like get it all out in the flash pan. So it's like store it all up, grieve over like 2 days, and then you have the wake afterwards where you just like. You hear loads, especially with like grandparents, you hear loads of stuff that you're not supposed to hear. You hear all these hilarious stories, all these stupid things. Yeah. And at the end, we were just like, "Oh, we all just going home?" It's like,
that's it.
Bullshit. So yeah, like me and my cousin were staying here in my house, and then a couple of my siblings and cousins. We came here and had a little drink and shared what stories we had. But we've had to like say we will have one, but it's going to be in the future, and then you kind of can't put a date on anything. So it's like brilliant. This is good. Yeah. So yeah, that was the only complication. It's just a nice. You missed a nice way of tying it all off.
Yeah, but like I say, I think a lot of people sadly have been in that situation. We've had probably 3 or 4 guests that have been in this situation on the podcast. Yeah. It's a shit one really, but to try and lighten the mood, lads, before we finish off, obviously we spoke about books, we spoke about podcasts, spoke about movies and films. Well, let's pick a book each. Curty, a book that you've read recently, or a book that you'd recommend that you've read before.
I'm still reading How to Be a Liberal by Ian Dunn. I referenced it in the last one, and it's good. It's very good. I recommend it. I like Ian Dunn. If you ever follow me on Twitter, he's a massive lefty, and he's quite funny. He's like a bit of a political commentator, and yeah, it's good. Like him, like James O'Brien's book How to Be Right, also very good. If you're into that sort of stuff. I haven't read a football book for a while.
Herb, are you a big reader?
I think, and this is the same as so many people on it, not when I'm not commuting.
Yeah.
It's finding time. Again, it's just like putting new time in to do stuff, and especially podcasts, so like loads of those have dropped off. But I actually, from listening, and because of the stupid Moneyball save that I'm attempted and everyone thinks I can't do, I literally have picked up Stockonomics to read, my own copy, again, and Expected Goals, because I didn't know what that was.
XG.
So XG, the XG philosophy. So I've got a couple of those, and I think there's loads more now that Amazon's just like keep reading these. So I think I'm going to try and put some time in to actually sit down and read. But I have become a little bit obsessed with statistics and Moneyball, like nerdy stuff. The spreadsheets I've got running.
Dave hates XG.
No, the thing is though, with XG now, FM has maybe warmed to it a bit more. I'm looking at it.
The thing, what people fail to understand is that it's not there to tell you what the score should be. No. It's to tell a story of the match, effectively, and like plot data along the way. So like, if you are consistently outperforming your opponents on XG, by the end of the season, you'll probably do all right.
Yeah.
Like it's not there as a retrospective thing. It's very much there. To tell the story of the match, to make sure that your team is heading in the right direction, if you like. And people don't seem to understand it. I think I used to look at it in that way, and I'd be like, oh, this is why XG is pointless. Like if a team's won like 2-0, but their XG is like 0.05 or I'll be like, oh, this is stupid. But like the more I've watched, like played with it on FM or you've seen it on FM, it's more to the fact that either it's not bullshit. It's either that your strikers have not done very well, or their defenders have done very well to either block or save the chance, sort of thing. It's there are like obviously it depends on the model, but obviously most models, probably all models, don't take into account the quality of the opposition.
Yeah.
As well, so there definitely are caveats to it, but it's like anything. It's there as a guide. It's there to kind of to help you and give you the markers as a manager, certainly in Football Manager terms, to make sure you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, it's like when I lost, for example, one of my recent games lost 3-1 to United, but my XG was so much higher than theirs. So in the back of my mind, I know we've created the chances could have won the game, but obviously we've not taken the chances. So now it's up to us to sort that out. So, but like you say, because United, they've probably got. If I had that XG against a non-league team, you'd be more angry because. But United, they've probably got like a world-class goalkeeper for a start that's got a better chance of saving this sort of stuff and so on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And you can say like, okay, if the 10 games before and the 10 games after, we're in good positions in terms of XG, and then there's that one game, you can go, okay, we were, it was an anomaly, if you like.
Yeah.
You can almost just draw a line under it and go, okay, we're still going in the same direction, or the direction that I want us to go. But yeah, for whatever reason, that one went to shit.
We'll have to get Herb to give his thoughts on XG in a pod in a few weeks' time.
I'm going to be learning it. I think it can. Well, in my head at first, it was helping me quell rage.
Yeah.
Because if I was getting done over, but then I could see that I clearly was the better team and I'm still creating chances, but we've just been done by some flukes. It's kind of like, okay, don't go and tweak the tactic, you twat, because you're doing all right. So just leave it and then see where the next game is. So like kind of dispelling the rage. But then there is points when I'm like, why am I not creating more though? So when I look at it, I'm like, man, she's not high enough. Then I'm like, well, how do I get it higher? And then you go through that stuff. So I think that's a lot of it's just got me peaked properly in Football Manager. So if it gets me reading some other stuff and learning some other bits, and it's numbers and data. Ooh.
I think I'm always very quick to forget when I've scored 6 goals and won like 6-1 and my XG is only 0.9. I'm always quick to forget those games. But it's the games where I lose and my XG is like 4. I'm like, what's going on here?
I think that's why me and Herb get on, is because nothing excites us more than sports and maths.
Exactly.
Yes.
And what about
who really outperformed?
What about
Inject it.
What about films, Curty? Films or TV? Any series that you're currently watching?
I'm going to be brutally honest with you. So we are rewatching The Sopranos, which is obviously amazing.
I've not watched that in full.
But my
I need to jump on that.
It's absolutely superb. But we are also watching. Well, my missus watches this, right, and I've just been sucked in horrendously. Is a thing called Below Deck.
Oh my god! I've heard about this.
This is about shit.
They call it boats and hose.
Yeah, boats and hose, basically.
Right. Okay.
So basically, it follows the crew on this like charter yacht, and they have like all these kind of like rich guests on there and stuff. Like, there's this one that's had Johnny Damon on, who was a MLB, like 2-time MLB World Series winner or something. I only know him from the film Moneyball because he was at Oakland A's and then went to Boston. But anyway, he was on there, bit of a dick. But like, it just follows the crew and like how they cope throughout the charter season and stuff like that. And it is absolute trash. But I have been sucked in. So yeah, that's what I've been watching recently. In terms of films, we had a little film binge yesterday. We watched what did we watch? We watched Home Alone.
Classic.
Because it's coming up for Christmas, isn't it? Watched Home Alone. We watched Willy Wonka's...
Which one?
Chocolate... The original one. One with Gene Wilder. I remember being freaked out like hell by Oompa Loompas when I was a kid. And now I'm an adult, I realise there's not a lot to worry about. But yeah, watched that. And then we also started watching Wayne's World. So just old school stuff.
Old school stuff.
What about you, Herb?
I don't watch TV. It's really bad. I'm creating a list of things to watch because I didn't have the space before, so like I've had to buy a sofa, which is nice, and I have an actual living room, which is nice. So I'm waiting for Cyber Monday to get a decent deal on a TV, and then I've got like a list of things to watch. The Mandalorian being I think top of that one because I like Star Wars. But I haven't really watched any new series for such a long time that I'm kind of looking forward to. I've been feeding off everybody.
What's your go-to series? If someone says, "Oh, Herb, what's your favourite TV series of all time?"
Just to throw on.
Yeah.
I like quite a lot. So what's the one that I did sit down and watch recently? Big Mouth. Have you seen Big Mouth, the cartoon one?
No.
So it's like a cartoon style one about kids going through puberty. There's 2 seasons of it. It's like raw. It's quite hilarious. Just like accidental boners and then hormone monsters are this random thing that just literally like they make hormones this monster creature that affects the characters so you can see what's happened to them and then
talking about stuff like that, have either of you seen Sex Education on Netflix?
No,
that's
I think
quite good actually. That's good actually. It's like it's not comedy as such, but there are funny moments in it. It's a bit I don't know what genre it would be, But I saw it. It was advertised quite highly. Like the first series was pushed
Yeah.
quite a lot, and I was like, I'll give this a watch, and it was really good. Basically, it's about this lad that goes to school, and his mom is like a sex therapist, and then a lot of the people. He's a bit of a weirdo, like in his year at school, but a lot of the girls and the lads are having sex troubles, and he then sets up like an anonymous thing where he's his sex therapist and makes money out of it. So like but there's really good bits, and then there's this girl that like who's quite high up in the year, who he likes her and she likes him, but for a couple of reasons they don't ever, like, she sees someone else, he sees someone else. But they've brought out 2 series of that, and there's a third one coming out as well. But it's really, really good. But it just covers, like, it's weird because it's almost set in like maybe like the 80s or 90s with the stuff they're wearing and the cars they drive, but they're all walking around with iPhones and stuff like that. So it's quite like quirky like that. But yeah, there's really good series, to be fair. But it covers so many bases because it's got obviously a standard, like, well, you know, it's got like gay couples, lesbian couples in there, and he's like giving sex advice for all of it as well. So it is quite good, but there are some hilarious bits of it as well. But it was left on a bit of a cliffhanger after Series 2, so Series 3 should be good.
Okay.
But it came up the other day, and I thought that'd be a good series actually to recommend. But I think Joe's watched parts of it and stuff like that as well, so it's quite a good series.
I'm looking forward to getting back to binging, and then going back to like some that I never finished. I think like Vikings, I watched the first couple of series of, and then never picked them up. Walking Dead, I loved Walking Dead, and I know it got crazy, but again after like 4 or 5. I dipped off, so I think I'm just going to load them all up and just not leave the sofa.
I ditched Walking Dead after season 4 or 5, I think. Just before, I think it was around the time just before Negan came in, maybe.
I think that was the season I missed. Yeah,
it was a big dip before that, but I'd stuck by it through the difficult season 2 on the farm.
Yeah.
And then season 3 got good, and then it just it went off a cliff edge for me. So
it's just like season 1 they're moving. It's like season 2 they're sitting still. Season 3 they're moving again. Season 4 again.
The prison stuff was all right, like with the governor and stuff like that. That was all okay. I
like zombies.
I do.
It's my jam. I like it.
You watched Lost?
Yeah, a long time. I watched it a long time ago.
Well, I've
never seen it.
I was just like,
I think you'd like it, Curty. The first, it's weird though, because like it sounds a bit like that. First 2-3 series is like quite full pace. I don't know how many, was it like 6 or 7 series? I can't remember. Seasons, rather. And then it just like, the last series especially just slows down. It's really weird.
Well, the problem I have is that, like, everyone shat on the ending.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why do I want to get invested in that if I'm ultimately going to be disappointed? It's like my missus said to me the other day, do you want to rewatch Game of Thrones? And I was like, no. Because the last 2 seasons were absolutely shit. Well, I mean, maybe not season. How many were there? 9. But certainly the last season, it was toss, absolute toss. They completely killed the story. Like they spent years and years building up all these this weave of character development and all that, and then they just threw it out the window so they could rush through the final season. It wound me up.
Do you think that's gonna because you think it's something like Breaking Bad, which people are just like, watch Breaking Bad, it's fucking immense. I don't know, but stick with it because it's slow the first 2 seasons. Stick with it, go with it. Do you think that's gonna impact Game of Thrones massively? Because, like you say, if you know you're gonna be disappointed at the end, are you actually gonna want to? If you're coming in new now, you think like the Breaking Bad people that haven't seen it, is anyone actually gonna pick up Game of Thrones and bust through it? Is that
unless you hadn't seen like any of the coverage around the last season, then yeah, sure, maybe you would get invested. But I mean, it's a great series up until like the last 2 seasons for me.
Yeah, I think like the first couple of series on Lost, it's worth watching. But like you say, when I was like almost halfway through proper into it, and I saw a couple of people moaning about the ending, I was like, what? I will say it's not. Well, it is underwhelming, the ending. Like you'd think, right, they're all lost on a desert island. What's the last episode going to be? Hey, flying home and shit. But, like they fly home part of them fly home like halfway through the series, so it doesn't really make much sense. So it is a bit of a mind, like you don't know what's going on. I think you got to use your imagination for a lot of it as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Can't wait. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But podcast as well, Kurt. Are you a big podcast listener?
Similar to what Herb was saying earlier, like a lot of the time my commute was my podcasting, and like because of how we sort of structured our day, like I would often walk the dog just on my own. But now, like my missus is coming with me quite a lot, so I'm not listening to podcasts when I'm commuting because I'm not commuting, and I'm very rarely listening to podcasts when I'm walking the dog because quite often the missus is with me. So like I haven't quite adjusted my podcast listening. So like I still, like there's a few wrestling podcasts that I still listen to quite a lot, although I'm very behind. Like even things like the Peter Crouch podcast, which I really, really enjoyed. I don't think I'm up to date with it just because
I never listened to. I think I listened to one of those. I never listened to.
I missed all of the lockdown ones. All of them.
Yeah, no. So there's so many. Like there was used to listen to James O'Brien's podcast quite a lot. There's a one around the US office.
That's good.
There's like Pam from the US office and Angela. In real life, they're like besties.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So like they're doing like a rewatch of the whole thing. So every week they cover like one episode and just sort of talk about behind the scenes. So that was really cool as well. But again, miles behind now with that. So yeah, so that's one part of this year that I haven't quite adjusted to where I would like it to be. Because if I start listening to a podcast in bed, I'm asleep after about 3 minutes. So,
what about you, Herb? I'd assume you're the same.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of podcasts I listened to. I think when I did, I was like binge watching or listening back to things like The Magic Sponge. I went through and listened to all those back. I got into a bit of, I know Joe was recommending is it called The Price of Football?
Yeah.
I think it's Price of Football one. So I listened to a few of those, but they're like, you have to listen to them. They're not ones you can kind of
have in the background sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a few that I can just like put on on the Amazon and on the Echoes that just dotted around the house and just leave it playing in the house as I'm just dotting around making dinner or whatever it is. Trying to find a time to sit down and listen to them. But yeah, none that I regularly listen to, other than re-listen to us, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously.
Well, both, it's been a really good podcast. Really appreciate you both jumping on, as always. Like the boys have said, I mean, our regular podcast is out every Monday, so it'll be out on the same day that this podcast is out as well, if you enjoy your Football Manager listening. But as always, thanks for listening. Be sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let us know if you've got any comments as well. But boys, thanks a lot. And
lovely.
Until next time, guys. See you soon. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers,
have good days.
Bye.